Hello everyone, it's Dr. Ryan coming to you from my office with another video review of one of the Step 1 Free 120 questions. Today we'll take a look at Block 2, Question 19. I'll put a link to the actual question below this video, but on this slide I've summarized the key points. So this question describes a 42-year-old woman who has a 1-year history of a breast mass. She was told in the past it was a cyst, but it's increased in size over the past 12 weeks. The mass is tender and painful. She's had aspiration of 2 prior cysts, and both times she was told she has no significant abnormalities. On exam, she has a 3 centimeter firm, tender, partially mobile mass. It's in the upper outer quadrant of the left breast. A mammography is done. It shows a 3.1 centimeter irregular mass, and an excisional biopsy is done, and they show you the path results, which you can view by clicking on the question itself. And so based on this information, what they want to know is which of the following pathologic findings most strongly suggest malignancy in this patient. And they give you 5 answer choices, which I will let you read to yourselves. Okay, so I have to tell you that I really like this question because it illustrates a very common trick used by USMLE question writers, which I'll explain to you now. So this question is talking about a 42-year-old woman who has a breast mass. And that's basically all you need to know to answer this question. All of this other information is completely irrelevant. You don't need to understand it. You don't need to even read it to answer the question. And USMLE question writers love to do this. They love to give you long, complex stems, often associated with images like path findings and CTs and MRIs, but you don't need any of that information to answer the question. Basically, all that information is just distraction. And what they're really testing is, can you boil down this big collection of information to a very simple question that we're asking you to answer? And that's the case here. So what they want to know is which of the following pathologic findings most strongly suggest malignancy. And they're basically saying, in a 42-year-old woman with a breast mass, which of these words or phrases listed here most strongly suggest malignancy? And that's all you need to understand to answer the question. It doesn't matter that she's had prior breast cysts. It doesn't matter what her mammogram showed. It doesn't matter what the path findings are. You just need to know which of these words and phrases most strongly suggest that she has a malignant breast mass. So let's go through the answers one at a time. The first answer is A, compressed ducts. This is not correct. So the major cause of benign breast masses in women in this age group is fibrocystic breast change. And in fibrocystic breast change, just like the name implies, you get the development of breast cysts and you get the deposition of fibrous tissue. And those things, fibrous tissue and cysts, can compress the ducts in breast tissue. So a finding of compressed ducts on a biopsy in and of itself doesn't really suggest malignancy. It could be a benign finding. Answer choice B, dense fibrosis. This is also wrong. Once again, fibrocystic breast change, the name has the word fibrous in its name, and that's telling you that fibrous tissue gets laid down. So a finding of dense fibrosis definitely doesn't strongly suggest malignancy. In fact, it strongly suggests a benign breast mass indicating fibrocystic breast change. Answer choice C says expanded ducts. This is also wrong. So when you have fibrocystic breast change, you can get obstruction of the drainage of fluid from the breast ducts, either from the fibrous tissue or the cysts, and those things can lead to expansion of the size of the ducts. So just the finding of expanded ducts in and of itself doesn't really strongly suggest malignancy. Then we've got answer choice D, multiple large and small cysts. This is also wrong. Once again, fibrocystic breast change has the word cyst in the name to remind you that large and small cysts, multiple numbers of those, are typically found in fibrocystic breast change, which is a benign condition. So that brings us to answer choice E, which is the correct answer, pleomorphic irregular glands. So pleomorphic means variation in size and shape, and that's what you get in cells and glands in many, many cancers. So our cells are programmed to grow in a very organized manner so that they create other cells and glands and ducts and things that are relatively similar in size and shape. When you start to see pleomorphism, which means variations in size and shape, either of cells or glands or nuclei, this is something you commonly see in many, many types of malignancies. And they even tell you that the glands are irregular to let you know that they're not growing in the normal fashion, they're growing in an irregular fashion. So a finding on a breast biopsy of pleomorphic irregular glands would strongly suggest malignancy. This is a very concerning finding, and that's in stark contrast to these other 4 findings here, all of which you could easily see in benign fibrocystic breast change. And so the take-home point from this question, in my opinion, is first of all, to always read the last sentence of the question stem first, which tells you what they want to know. Because if you know, going into reading this long stem, that they just want to know which pathologic findings suggest malignancy, then it's much easier to filter out all the unnecessary information like her mammogram findings or her prior breast cysts or all those things that they throw into the question stem. And then the second take-home point is, as you are practicing, after you answer the question and you see what the right answer is, go back and look at the question again and say to yourself, how can I boil this question down to the most important information? Because that is a skill you have to get as you practice. You have to be able to boil these long question stems down into the very simple questions that they are asking, just like this one. You have to be able to eliminate all this unnecessary, distracting information and just realize that this is a very simple question saying, in a 42-year-old woman with a breast mass, which of these words and phrases would most strongly suggest malignancy? And that concludes our video review of the Step 1 Free 120 Block 2 Question 19.